sorting out some of the aspects of it that need rectifying.
Caller, Whistle Wall.
Kia ora, Mr Speaker. Thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to the second reading debate on the Veterans Support Bill that Labor supports. I want to acknowledge my colleagues who sit on the Social Services Select Committee for the manner in which we normally conduct the discussions and dialogue. And it is fair to say that there has been intense discussion and dialogue specifically about whether or not veterans should qualify for a veterans pension by virtue of having a disability. I thought I would provide a little bit of history, not only on how we've come to where we are now, but also on the whole philosophy about why veterans have to have a disability to receive support. So what I wanted to do is pick up on my colleague Andrew Williams' mention of veterans who have specifically served our nation in Vietnam, because it was in fact a 2003 Health Select Committee inquiry into Agent Orange that started this process. So one of the findings of that particular Health Select Committee report was that we needed to review the 1954 Act. What the government then did at that stage was to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Royal New Zealand Returned Services Association and the Ex-Vietnam Services Association. And then in 2007 we instigated the Law Commission review. So the momentum for the review of the 1954 Act and for the piece of legislation that's here before us, Mr Speaker, is now over 10 years old. In terms of why you have to be disabled to receive any form of state assistance, actually goes back to a quote from Queen Elizabeth. I quote, "Such as have adventured their lives and lost their limbs or disabled their bodies in defence of Her Majesty and the state should be relieved and rewarded that they may reap the fruit of their good deserving." I repeat that, the fruit of their good deserving. What happened after that speech was the formation of a charity called the Chatham Chest, which occurred in 1590. So the reality of the philosophy around why our veterans have to be disabled to receive a veteran's pension actually goes back to that undertaking by which is interesting, by Queen Elizabeth I. And so we've seen that philosophy just be transferred historically, because what happened from that was that in 1713, essentially that's when the disabled or the pension for veterans was created. The same was replicated in the USA, which became a pension plan for disabled veterans, and that occurred in 1792. So essentially all New Zealand has done to get to this point in time is to continue to perpetuate a charitable response to veterans who have fought for our country and have become scarred by that experience or disabled by that experience. And I think the question that we have to ask today is whether or not that philosophy should drive the provision of a veteran's pension now and into the future. I do want to look at the numbers, and the Honourable Phil Goff mentioned that currently we have 16,700 veterans who would qualify. We have a lot of veterans within the 80 to 100 year age range, and these are our veterans that served in World War II. But the interesting statistic I want to share with the House from the Regulatory Impact Statement, which is dated the 27th of September 28, was that in 5 years, 28% of those veterans actually won't be alive anymore. So that means of that 16,700 in 2019, we're actually only talking about 12,000 veterans. And so it's incumbent on the House, I think, to challenge itself, to be critical about the provision of services, of support to our veterans, and to understand the history of that provision, and, as I said before, to question whether or not that is acceptable and relevant as we move into the future. Because certainly both the Law Commission and the Royal New Zealand Returned Services Association were very clear in their submission that they couldn't see any rationale as to why all qualifying veterans, and these are veterans who have gone over, risked their lives and their limbs to serve our country, to protect all of us, why they shouldn't qualify for a veteran's pension. I actually think there's a compelling argument for this House to work together, which is what we have tried to do in the Select Committee, and to be forced as an opposition. And I know I stand here as a member of the Labour Party with our New Zealand First colleagues, with our Green colleagues as servants on the Social Services Select Committee, and trying very hard to get a consensus around this point. And so we aren't playing politics, actually. What we are playing is a very straight bet, founded on a Law Commission process, Recommendation 95, founded on a fantastic submission by the Royal New Zealand Returned Services Association, and my colleague, the Honourable Phil Goff, as our Veterans Affairs spokesperson, will be proposing within the committee stages a supplementary order paper so that we can get consensus and all of us as a House can recognise that our veterans are worthy of recognition. For a lot of them, and I'm speaking on behalf of veterans from my Manurewa RSA, and I've spoken to Graham Doyle, who's my president, they're proud to have represented our country, Mr Speaker. It's a sense of pride for them to have a veterans pension. Yes, there are going to be benefits and support, additional support that they will get, but I think they're not a charity anymore. Our veterans don't need to be treated as a charity anymore. And I guess my plea to the House and to the opposition is please have a look at it. If we are to debate the committee stages next week, we still have time to reach consensus. And as I said before, if we actually put veterans at the centre of this bill, because in fact the Veterans Act is all about meeting the needs of veterans. Mike Sabin might think that's strange, but actually saying that someone has to have a disability to get support and then haggle over the level of that support seems really disingenuous when we say that we honour what they do. All of us will be on Anzac Day at the services in our electorates, honouring the people that have risked their life for us. And I think it's really disingenuous of us not to be really critical about why we won't open our minds to a change in philosophy that is actually about recognising the contribution that our veterans have made to our society, the contribution that our veterans continue to make to our society, the sense of pride that we have in their achievements, the sense of contribution that we have within a global context to participating in these wars to bring peace to the world. And so, as a member of the Select Committee, it has been my pleasure and my privilege to be involved in the passage of the bill through the House. I look forward to further discussions and I commend the bill to the House. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Call Mike Sabin.